Hi, this is William from the Godzilla Files, and today we're going to talk about the Showa series. We're going to go into some things that I like about it, and also some of the things I don't like about it. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. So some of the things I do like about the Showa series. First and foremost, it has the classic Godzilla film. The original Godzilla, which at the end of the day is a classic. I think it also does have some of the best films in the whole entire Godzilla series. You have a stream of King Kong versus Godzilla, Godzilla versus Mothra, Ghidorah the three-headed space monster, Invasion of the Astro Monster, Destroy All Monsters, Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, Terror of Mechagodzilla, and those are the ones that are generally conceived as the best in the Showa series, and also can make an argument for being the best overall in the series. So that's like 8 of them right there, and there are personal favorites of mine like Godzilla versus Gigan. So really at the end of the day, that this time period has a lot of great stuff in it. Another thing that it does so well is the monsters. All of them are unique. They made new ones up almost every other film. So that's big. People don't like this time period, but when you think about it, you had Hedorah, you had Gigan, you had Megalon, you had Mechagodzilla, all in a row. That is extremely impressive. No matter how you want to break that down, those 4 right then and there are, classic monsters. Everyone knows them. They've all, or some of them. I think the only one out of those 4 is Megalon that didn't get another appearance. So, out of the 4, 3 of them have appeared in other times in the series, which tells you how popular they were. And I think Megalon still has some popularity. I know when I was young, he was very big because a lot of people knew Godzilla versus Megalon. Um, Another thing is, a lot of them were always being released. You can get them anywhere, so that's it helps with when you're trying to find a movie to watch or trying to find movies for people to look at when it comes to Godzilla. A lot of these movies are available, and were available for even when I was a kid, so that was always great. Um, Another thing is, it does have classic music, and while this might become a little bit of a problem and something I'll talk about in my dislikes, those pieces that you hear throughout, the Godzilla series is great, and they were able to come up with new things, at least new themes for each movie. And throughout the series, you had different composers making different things. So, like if you listen to Son of Godzilla, it sounds completely different from Ghidorah the three-headed space monster, and both are very good and both are unique. So I do like that, especially in the beginning of the series where they were really making and creating new themes for what would become later known as like the Godzilla theme, which appeared in King Kong versus Godzilla, or Ghidorah's theme, which would follow him throughout most of the series. So those are pretty great throughout the whole entire thing. You know, Once again, the monster battles were another great thing for these movies. These were really versus films. Godzilla was always fighting someone, so that was cool. I mean, you have classics like Godzilla versus King Kong. You know, those are things that you haven't seen since. We will see that with the legendary Godzilla films. So hopefully, that will do it some justice. But overall, the Showa series, Godzilla was always fighting someone, and because of that, they were always coming up with unique designs for their monsters. So really, at the end of the day, like creativity-wise, I don't think Toho was ever higher when it came to this. Maybe Biollante might be, an argument for when they were talking about creativity. Um, Characters. I think a lot of the characters were pretty interesting. Even the human characters, for the most part, even though they kind of stood around and just watched, they were always some interesting thing, like a scientist, an astronaut, a reporter. They weren't ever really a military type. So I do like that. I do like the fact that you kind of follow like an everyday kind of person to some extent. Let's see some other things I liked. I always liked the fact that they were fun movies. Yes, maybe they got a little too fun and maybe too kiddie throughout the series, but I always do like the fact that you can kind of turn on any of these movies and enjoy yourself. And that's really what I liked as a kid. growing up with these, I just was able to kind of sit down and watch it and kind of do something, while watching it. I just love these films. They're perfect popcorn film in a way. You know, um, there's so much you can probably talk about more. You could probably make a whole entire video on just the likes and just talking about the series itself. But this is kind of where I'm going to leave it for now. Let me know what you think, and I'll be back with my dislikes soon. So, some of the things that I dislike about the series is something that I think most fans in general have problems with. One of the biggest being how Godzilla transformed from an evil character, almost a force of nature, to almost an anti-hero to a full-on superhero. While I don't mind him being a superhero, it's the path that he took that really leaves much to be desired. After Destroy All Monsters, the series was supposed to end, but because of the fact that it made so much money and was such a big hit, they decided to keep going. And with Godzilla's Revenge, it's kind of started Godzilla going on that path of being a straight-on hero. And some of the movies did it pretty well, others didn't, and unfortunately, you had quite a few in a row that didn't do it so well. Even though one of my personal favorites is Godzilla vs. Gigan, you can make the argument that between the stock footage and also just a storyline that wasn't great and a pretty atypical story, it really doesn't work. Um, so I think that's a problem. I do like how they kind of got back to making Godzilla a force of nature with Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla and also Terror of Mechagodzilla. So it was a good way to end the series when, in the past couple of years before that, he had really taken a hit. And unfortunately, in that period of time, I also feel that a lot of people kind of got the notion of what Godzilla was. Those terribly dubbed films which you would see on Saturday morning television. It doesn't help the image of Godzilla in that time period. So I completely understand why fans don't like that, and I do agree for the most part, on this as well. Another thing that I also didn't like was, part of the series, as the series kind of wore on, stock footage was being used more and more. Even stock music was being used more and more. So to me, I always felt that was a problem. You would hear the same themes over and over again. Yes, while they're great themes and they're wonderful, you do kind of hope for more music. They were, they had such a great composer and many different composers that they could have done a lot. I just felt that there was a period of time where they were really worried about the money, the financial end of everything, and so they just decided not to spend any money, and that's what happens. You have movies that go from being good to that could have been great, and you can see all the unmade films, online that you kind of hear about. They have some really great ideas. So unfortunately, because of the fact that they were so worried about the whole money situation, they you know they bypassed a lot of those great ideas. Some other things, overall, I thought some of the costumes, some of the suits that Godzilla wore were pretty bad. Son of Godzilla is a perfect example. That's a really bad costume. So, I definitely didn't like that costume. I do feel that it, you know, didn't look good. Even Godzilla Raids Again. I know they were experimenting, trying to figure everything out. It was the first time they were really doing a kaiju battle, but it just doesn't look good. It's not. It's done very poorly. It's amazing when you see that, and then you look a couple of years later what they did with Godzilla versus King Kong. So, there was definitely always experimenting, but I do believe some of the suits could have done a little bit better. And also, they kind of kept on using a suit for way too long. I mean, you look at Godzilla versus Gigan, the suit's completely falling apart. So I kind of feel that maybe they, once again, trying to save money, were reusing things over and over again. Um, I talked about stock music. I also mentioned the stock footage you have movies that are almost made of completely made of stock footage, where it's going from night and day, and it's like, oh, well, they'll never notice. It's like, no, it's a pretty big deal. You can kind of tell through everything. So, to me, that's a problem. I can't stand that. Especially because I liked Gigan. And Godzilla vs. Gigan is one of those ones where they use a lot of stock footage. I would have loved to have seen more with Gigan. So, that always bothers me a bit. And but besides that, there aren't too many things not to like about it, about the series in general. It does get obviously campy, and some camp is good, because that can be fun, and really that's what, at the end of the day, it's a giant fire breathing monster. It's always going to be geared towards kids, as the series gone well, and I was okay with that. I think there's you know those early Showa films like Godzilla versus Mothra, King Kong versus Godzilla, even Ghidorah, Three-Headed Space Monsters. Those were a perfect balance to where an adult and a kid could enjoy those films. Some of them go a little too far to kids, and I think that's when you see the problem arise. So, that's kind of my thoughts on what didn't really work in the Showa series. Um, if you agree, let me know. If there's other things that you felt that didn't work, please leave it in the comments below. So, some final thoughts about the Showa series is, it's definitely has its bright moments. You know, a lot of the movies, like I spoke about earlier, are classics in their own right. Of course, with everything else, there is always going to be negatives. It is a long series, so because of that, you're going to see a decline in quality, which we kind of talked about as well, especially in the '70s with the stock footage and stock music. But overall, though, this is kind of where I first was introduced to Godzilla, and this is for some reason where I always and come back to and kind of watch over and over again. Some recommendations for anyone that's trying to find some good Showa films would definitely be, the original Godzilla. But what that is considered a classic. I don't always really, for some reason, I never feel like that's part of the Showa series, even though it is. But so some Showa films would definitely be Godzilla versus Mothra, King Kong versus Godzilla, Ghidorah, the three-headed space monster, Terror Mechagodzilla. One of my personal favorites is also Godzilla versus Gigan, which is kind of a mixed bag for some people. But overall, though, I still really enjoy it. It's one part of the Godzilla series that I will continuously go back to no matter what. And yeah, so that's my opinion on it. I hope you enjoyed the video. Have any comments or want to let me know what you think of the Showa series, comment below, and I'll talk to everyone later. Bye.